Hello, and thank you so much for clicking play and joining me on this episode of She Got Next. Per usual, my guest is dope. Her name is Lacey Minsell. She's legal counsel with the National Women's Soccer League. Hi, Lacey. Happy Friday.
Hi there. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to get a chance to chat.
You've been at the league, 4 years now?
Yeah, almost heading towards 5. So
heading towards 5.
Yeah.
Incredible. And there's just been this ever growing, in my mind, momentum and fandom for the league itself, for these teams. And now that you've been there for a few years, I wonder, does this playoff season feel different than the others?
I wouldn't say that it feels different. I like to look at it as sort of chapters of the league and evolutions. I think even just since my time here, like we have gone through several iterations of the league and professionalizing and enhancing, and it's just been a true honor to watch it all come together. And playoffs and championship is really like a culmination of everything. So it's really like my favorite time of year.
Are you allowed to or between you and I, if there's a team that you're rooting for, are you allowed to say that? Probably not.
I view it as a parent and their children. They're all special in their own ways, and they're all favorites in their own ways.
That's very diplomatic. Very smart of you to do that. Now, I think it's pretty important and perfect timing for the league to be having the finals taking place in the Bay Area. It's going to happen at PayPal Stadium in San Jose. I'm from San Jose. But AFC recently hosted the Spirit there over the summer to historic record attendance numbers, 40,091. And I hear you when you say you're not thinking of this as necessarily a different feeling around playoffs or even maybe the entire season, but a chapter. But what does this chapter feel like to you, and thinking about those historic numbers and the momentum and the number of eyeballs and investment, again, in teams and in leagues?
Yeah, I think that the momentum we've seen at different venues like Oracle Park has been just incredible. That match was historic for us in general. I think also as we look at expansion and the news around that, it's been super exciting. And having these teams come in and just get ready to get down to work and forming their business in their new markets. That's one of my favorite things also to watch. So, next season with Boston and Denver kicking off, I'm really excited to see how those two markets stack up and fare in the coming season.
Yeah, it's been incredible to see the number of teams kind of sprout up all over the country. I know Atlanta's next on the list after the other two cities you've named, and we've seen growth like this and other women's professional leagues. And it's interesting to me because it feels like, the NWSL is 12 years old at this point. So it's probably one of the younger leagues. The WNBA has been around for almost 30, I think, 25, something like that. And it takes a while to gain momentum, to find places where the games can be shown. And so you can find fans and fans can find you. I want to go back a little bit because I didn't talk about the fact that you are now in Chicago. I know you're from Cleveland. Chicago is your adopted hometown now. That's where the headquarters are. And I had a member of leadership of Wise LA, that chapter, on a couple of weeks ago, right as the World Series was beginning to take off. And I was telling her, I'm like, LA is obviously a city that's always talked about, but with sports being really an opportunity, it's a force for celebration and for hope and unity across demographics. So we hear about the World Series and we're all excited for the Dodgers potentially. But then at the same time, there are huge pockets of communities, families, friends are also carrying the weight of what's happening in real time on the ground. Chicago is another city that's being talked about. We see videos on the news, we're watching social media, seeing what's happening there. And while you're celebrating fandom in Chicago, I'm a Bears fan. So I imagine the energy is great there. Well, you love all of that. You're also dealing with the reality of what's happening on the ground. So I just kind of want to do a vibe check. How does it feel to you walking around the city at this time?
It's a unique time. I think, the good thing about sports is that it, across whatever you're dealing with, it has the ability to really bring people together. And through Wise, certainly, I found my community of women that I'm able to really lean on and do my own vibe checks with. And, it's across all teams and leagues. And so that's been a really powerful tool for me personally.
Now, I read this about your role, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. In your role at the NWSL, you provide strategic legal guidance across all areas of legal operations, including player and union matters, handling immigration paperwork, contract negotiations, compliance, and governance. That sounds like a long list. Does that sound pretty accurate? There are two things that I want to pull from that long list, beginning with something that we already kind of been touching on, your role in helping with immigration and paperwork. Now, in my mind, fans are eating up the diversity that they see on the field or on the ice or in the arenas. They are expecting teams and leagues to find the best and the best in the world. And I wonder from what your role is, like what you're seeing happening. Again, I think the NWSL is a great leader, a great model of an organization that is looking high and low for talent from around the world. And you're competing with other leagues that also want that talent. Talk to me about the diversity of the league again, and your efforts to attract the best of the best.
So soccer, I think, unlike a lot of the other popular North American sports, is such a global game. It is worldwide. It is consistently the most popular sport in other countries. And so when we talk about being the best league in the world, that literally means attracting top international talent. And that has been a focus for us, certainly for our teams, in order to be able to compete at the highest level possible and to have our players training against the highest talent possible. So it is an emphasis for us to be focused on international talent. Unlike other leagues as well, we're set up similarly to MLS, where we're a single entity structure, which means unlike the NBA or NFL, where they would be in charge and tasked with dealing with the immigration and visa process of their players, the league in MLS and NWSL takes on that burden because the players are technically our employees, which is just a little bit different. So when you think of the breadth of players in our league and how we have been focusing on international talent, that is definitely a lot of work. And it's been something that we've really leaned into and tried to navigate the best we can. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. I had the pleasure of interviewing someone who is the VP of Fan Growth and Community with the Washington Spirit. Her name is Rashana Hamilton. And we were talking about sports being one of the last beacons where that diversity is really celebrated and necessary because soccer is such an international sport. It's expected that you go out there and find the top talent in the world, and you're competing with leagues that are also looking for the top talent. So I would imagine there's a lot of paperwork that you're having to do constantly with renewing and allowing people to come to the country. The other aspect of that long list of responsibilities that you have, I want to tap into, get some more detail around, is around negotiating contracts. The NWSL, you guys just went into a collective bargaining agreement that's got you through 2030. The WNBA is still trying to figure things out. They're going through an arduous process right now. I read that you said that being a part of that process, it's the first ever collective bargaining agreement, but you said that it was one of the more rewarding parts of your job. Can you give me a peek into what it was like for you and what made it feel so rewarding?
Sure. I think it's a loaded question, right? I think that from my perspective, in the list of duties that you outlined in formulating this thread of questioning, all of those pieces require me to work very closely with our Players Association. And we do try to be a player first league. And with that comes collective bargaining. And I think it's a long process. No matter what league or what job you're in, obviously there's a variety of organizations that have unions and have to negotiate with unions. And it is a long, detailed, heavy process of really trying to get down to what somebody's crux of the issue is and how do we address that while also keeping the interest of the league and players at the forefront. So for me, going through that process and sifting through the weeds of what the league is built on and what our rules are, and navigating the relationships with the union and seeing that all come to fruition through a collective bargaining agreement is just, it's definitely the most rewarding thing that I've been able to do here.
You all announced recently that you're going to have a new board of advisors, and they're just, it's so many different and incredible people, and Ken Griffey Jr. and Sabrina Ionescu. I recently connected with Dominique Dawes on LinkedIn. She accepted my request. I don't know.
Amazing.
She probably like, yes, to however one, but very cool. But my question for this aspect of it, like, I think how this advisory board has been described, it's really bringing these people together to help up-brand, upsell, move into thinking about the future of the NWSL. And these folks, again, Magic Johnson, Bryce Young, they're all like, I want to attach my name to this incredible brand that you have built. I see the growth opportunities there. Even brands like Elf and Nike and Tiffany, they're all signing up. And I do think it has to do with the fact that WSL has done a really great job at expanding their fandom, thinking through who they can be tapping into as could-be fans of leagues and teams. And I wonder, again, I know you've been there for 4 years and there's chapters that you're experiencing, but if you felt a shift in that strategy of, again, expanding what a fan could look like, the barriers to understanding the game and being invited into the process and celebration.
Yeah, fan research is a wild thing. It's definitely, I'm not super involved in that piece, but I can say, like, when we think of the advisory group over the last few years, to your point, there has been a trickle in of these huge, creative, incredible people investing at the team level and on all of our teams, as you've seen through the advisory panel. So thinking through, how do we leverage that and take these incredible minds and try and find a way to make our league better through that and through their notoriety and their specialties and all of those things. So I'm really excited about the advisory group. I think it's such a unique way to put all of the creative minds in one place. And
now it seems like a badge of honor. Like, if you don't have a team that you're investing in, what are you doing with your time and your notoriety, your platform? One day I'm going to get there. One day I'm going to put some money in. I don't know which team yet and which league, but we'll figure that out.
Yes.
But I mentioned this earlier that maybe I didn't. I should say that I know that you played soccer growing up. You played through early years in college. Shout out to Lake Erie College. And you're also president of WISE Chicago. WISE stands for Women in Sports and Events. You're president of Chicago chapter. Blending those two things together, your sports experience and your role with the NWSL and your leadership role at WISE. I wonder if there were strategies or things that you learned from sports that you apply to these roles that you have professionally, about being a teammate and getting up off the mat or off the grass. Are there particular things that you can look back on and say, I know I learned this because I played sports?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think there are so many connections through that experience that I've leveraged, and even through law school and my career now. I think hard work is really the foundation of everything I do. I might not always be the smartest one in the room, but I am going to work as hard as I possibly can to get to the result that we need to get to. And, you know, that might be a little bit more research than somebody else might need to do. It might be a later night, but I know I can trust myself to get to the right result. Teammates, you're dealing with so many different personalities, especially in an in-house legal role. I mean, you know, there are folks in marketing and broadcast and communications, and all of these are stakeholders that you need to but work with in tandem every day. And they need to be able to trust you and know that you're trying to get the right result for them. You're not just there to say no or to put guardrails up. Like, somebody once described it to me as you're skydiving. And I'm not trying to prevent you from jumping out the plane, but I do want to equip you with a parachute so that you don't die. And that's kind of how I like to think of it. You need to be a team player and you need to work hard. And, those are just two of the main themes and skills that I picked up through playing sport.
There's a woman that I would love to have on the show eventually. She's also in leadership at a different WISE chapter in the country. And she posted a photo of herself wearing a t-shirt that say, girls that play sports become women that lead. And there's a lot of data that supports that. And I think WISE chapters are examples of a lot of young women, girls who played sports, who are now rising in the industry. Talk to me a bit about Chicago WISE's chapter. What's the energy there like? How would you describe your members, your leadership? I got to get out there. I haven't been out there in years.
Yes, please come out and visit. We'd love to have you. I would describe our board and members as just an incredibly diverse and motivated group of women. In the Chicago chapter, we have around 450 plus members. Wow. We're partners with almost every professional sports team in the Chicago area. And so through that, it runs the gamut, right? Like there are executive leaders who are members of WISE that we often tap into for panels and fireside chats, networking events, all the way through folks that are middle managers, early in their career, and then to students. And the student population is one that is definitely near and dear to my heart because that's when I first started interacting with WISE, was like my freshman year of college. And the doors that it opened, and I started out in the Cleveland chapter, the doors that it opened have just been incredible. Like when I first moved to Chicago, I knew nobody. And I was moving there with my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time. And it was really just like him and I. And the first thing I did was reach out to WISE Chicago. And from there, I really found a group of women that not only motivate me and inspire me, but are friends and some people that I can call up and just say, hey, I had this issue come up at work or personally, like, what do you think I should do? And having that sounding board has been so truly beneficial to me, especially through my transition to Chicago and just in my career generally.
I believe you, because when I went on LinkedIn and I went on to Instagram, there are so many photos that you posted, Lacey, about exciting things that your chapter has done. So you clearly are proud of your chapter and the members, but you're not just, it's like that whole Men's Warehouse. You're not just a customer, you are the president. So,
yes.
Taking on a leadership role, what led you to say, not only do I love this chapter, they've created such a family feeling for me, women that I can tap into, a network that I can tap into for support, but now I want to be in a leadership position. Where did you find that confidence?
When I first got the call that I should really consider being president of WISE Chicago, my instinct was to sort of shy away and say, oh, I'm not sure. I've got a lot on my plate. Like, am I the right person to lead an organization like this that is so close to my heart? And in talking to the former presidents of WISE Chicago and other mentors that I've had in my career, I just felt like I would regret it if I didn't seize the opportunity and sort of put all I could into it. Again, WISE is an organization that is incredibly dear to me, and I didn't want to do them wrong. Like, I wanted to make sure I showed up and, that we had the in-person events that we wanted to have, that we created a network of women and a community for women where you felt comfortable coming to a networking event. Maybe you've never networked in your life. You're super introverted and shy, but this is the place to try it. Nobody's going to judge you here. Try networking, and we'll show you that it's a good time and that you can walk away with friendships and mentors. And so that's really how I've tried to approach it.
Great. Like I said, when I'm looking through the photos of what you post, I'm like, I need to go to Chicago, at least to just kind of hang out and see what you guys are doing. In the last 5 minutes of an episode, I like to ask my guests the same 4 questions. So I hope you don't mind. They're not scary at all.
Do it.
As eyebrows go up, everyone goes, what? Yes, it's very simple. But I want to start first by asking you about your first sports memory. It could be playing a sport, watching a sport. As we've kind of noted throughout this conversation, you're from Cleveland. I imagine that you have some early Cleveland fandom, whoever it was for, the Cavaliers, the Browns, but the Guardians, whoever it could be. Or again, maybe you were playing a sport and that's kind of the memory that comes to your mind initially when asked.
My earliest sports memory, I'm an only child, and it's just my mom and I. But I have a cousin, Aaron, who is also an only child, and we kind of grew up like siblings. He's 6 years older than I am, and I remember watching him play football, and I just really looked up to him, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And like, how could I get involved? And I ended up being a student manager for his football team. I was literally like 10 years old. And even in 8th grade, I pride myself on this. I was the first girl in my city to play football. I played football in 8th grade, tackle football.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
I'm going to need you to share some photos of that, like insert photo of Lacey here.
I do have them. My husband still makes fun of me, but that's a little fun fact, and definitely took on a life of its own. I played every sport you could imagine, and as soon as I knew that it was possible to have a career in this industry, I was like 10 toes down. Whatever I have to do, I'm in it. So.
Very cool. Very cool. What about a movie, a sports movie that you quote often or that you have on a repeat as a go-to sports movie coming to mind right now? I see this smile.
Yes. Friday Night Lights, the movie, not the TV show, yes, is my favorite sports movie of all time. Every year in August, I make me and my husband watch it, and I quote it, and he gets very upset with me because I'm like saying the words before the actors are. But I love that movie. I love spoiler alert, I love in the end that they lose, because I think it just is it's so life. Like, you're not always going to win, no matter how hard you try, no matter how bad you want it. And I think that ending is so important.
It is. And it's really important, especially because that's mostly what you do when you play sports. You're mostly losing, getting to the top of the mountain, getting the ring, getting the banner. Only one team gets to do that. Everybody else is the loser. So kind of understanding that that's more likely going to happen than not, I think is an important lesson for all of us to apply to the rest of our lives. Like, you got to keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's the first time someone said Friday Night Lights. Now, I also like to provide an opportunity for guests to kind of give a shout out to an individual or a collection of people that have really supported their professional journey. Is there a particular person that you can think of right now that you're like, this person really was the one to help support me again on this journey?
Well, I would say there are several people. I think that the one that has probably had the biggest impact on me, in certainly my current role and when I first started here, is Bill Ordauer, and he's the chief legal officer of the NWSL. And he's always been an advocate. I was pretty fresh out of law school when I started here, and being able to just have him invite me to a call to like listen to how he's going to handle a situation, and back me up when I'm not sure if I'm making the right decision, has really given me confidence. So definitely him. I think other folks would be Meg Murray of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I was under her my 3L year of law school. And she, even today, if I have a question about, literally anything, personal or professional, she will always take my call. And Chris Harrington, and he's the one who I really, it solidified for me that I wanted to be in the legal industry. And he similarly has always been a sounding board. And ultimately Jessica Berman, seeing her leadership in action she is absolutely iconic, and it's been an honor to be able to learn from somebody like her. So that's a collection of some folks.
The last question that I like to ask is how you're making space for the next generation of women in the sports industry. As president of WISE in the Chicago area, I imagine being president, you're already doing that, right? But I wonder how maybe as president or the chapter is really making sure that, again, college students, young women can see themselves in the industry of sports. What particular things are you doing?
I try and view my role as a connector, and because obviously not everybody wants to be a legal counsel or a lawyer and an attorney. So when I meet people and students and folks earlier on in their career, I really try to keep in the back of my mind a Rolodex of senior leaders, middle manager leaders who I think I could connect them with. And I'm always happy to send an intro email, and people that I trust too, like that I know will answer the message and be able to get on the phone with them. I know sometimes I'm not always the best with that, but I always try and circle back and make sure that I'm able to connect with people to the extent I'm able. And I think the WISE board as well, their roles are very diversified. So sometimes it's easy to just tap one of them in if they're interested in sales or partnerships. So that's kind of how I've tried to approach it.
That's great. Answering the call, responding to an email, especially if you're just kind of getting started, is so huge when you're trying to get in the industry. So being available is a big deal. So I think that sounds fantastic. I'm very excited for the growth of the NWSL. I'm excited for what you all are doing in Chicago at WISE. So thank you again for taking time out of your schedule to join me.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so great.
And thank you so much for watching either on YouTube, listening on Spotify, or following along on LinkedIn and Instagram. Please be sure to subscribe and share the show with everybody you've met in your entire life. Until next time.